Yes, Siri. Okay. A lot of crazy things have happened this week. Let's do this. Oh, crazy, crazy market, right? But I don't understand why there is a delay. Let me see. Let me see. Actually, where are you?
and see me or hear me. Hello, hello. Okay, does it look good?
Oh, doing the audio on here.
Okay, can't see it.
Okay, it's my bad. I'm so excited that I muted myself and I went on.
Okay.
Great. 1 second. What an interesting week this has been, and clearly you are sporting the right colors.
Yes.
You're in the festive spirit. Great. Let's get this show started. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of my age, welcome to another episode of Aura8. You know what? I always make sure to use uh, words like this is going to be exciting, a very special episode, because, I want to say these things when I really mean it, because hosts like us, we tend to misuse and abuse a lot of words. But today is indeed a supremely exciting episode, not only for the Bitcoin holders, but also for the Ethereum holders. We have the legend Michael Terpin with us one more time. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. Crazy week. Tell us what happened. Like, how did Ethereum move? Ethereum never moved for so long, and so many happy faces. Let's talk about Ethereum first.
Well, we basically had a white swan because we've been following, as I've been saying for the last few weeks, we've been following the, kind of the 200-week moving average. So even though we were at like 62, 63, 64, it was still below the moving average, which, as I've said, is a moving average, right? So in February, when the price was 60K, it was actually over the moving average. So that was not the bottom, right? And the first one that actually acted like it might be the bottom, as I've said a couple times, was June. When June, we were not only below the moving average, but we also had a bottom that did not immediately pop back. And all of the bottoms historically, they just lay there for a while, right? So 4 years ago, it was not the bottom when Terra Luna hit because it bounced right back. Right, you had a quick recovery. You had a V-shaped recovery. Same thing with Celsius. With FTX, it just laid there for a couple months, and and it came back about 2 months after that. So it came back pretty strong in January, and then even stronger in March, and that was when we were completely off to the races. But January was when you basically got over, I think it was like 18 or 19,000, and that has sort of retraced the drop that had happened from Celsius. And at that point, you could pretty much say that's when I said, okay, we now have confirmation that the bottom is in. Um, we're pretty close to that now. So I am going to go and, I said last week that, you should still be accumulating as we have been, and anything below the 200-week moving average. You might want to still leave a bag in case it goes lower in October, which, as recently as a few days ago, I still thought was a 30-40% chance that the bottom was in, and that there was a higher chance because of the fear and greed and, the how the market will react to negative news. Like if we had, like say an AI hack of a big exchange or an AI. But we've had no bad news, fundamental bad news, which is wonderful, right? For this entire Bitcoin cycle. I mean, the worst thing we had was, the kind of cold card, kind of not even a hack. It was just sort of like a improper programming of how you sort of picked your keys, and someone was able to go in and take advantage of that and move like 1,800 Bitcoin out, which is still not a giant amount compared to like say what was lost in FTX and etc. But no, I am now prepared to say now that we hit 77 or approaching 78K after being only at 64K 48 hours ago, that I will now say that we are now two-thirds chance, 2/3 chance that June was the bottom, not 1/3. And if we get over 80 and stay there, we close the week over 80. Then I'd say that it's 90% chance. So right now is the time to be bullish. Doesn't mean you have to put all your spare cash in today, but you should start DCAing like now. And we are as well. We think there's going to be a retracement of this pump, but if it behaves like the start of the bull market 4 years ago in January of 2023, it will not fully retrace. Most pumps fully retrace. In other words, it would go from 63 up to, wherever this ends up, 80, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, wherever the top is the next couple of days, and then it'll go back down. Right now, our sort of analysis and sort of TA and sentiment and all the things we track at the fund are saying that it's not likely to go below 70 on the retrace, as opposed to if it was a full retrace, like most pumps fully retrace, we'd be going back down into the low 60s. And so I see that as a less likely scenario. And if it doesn't go below 70, well, then that means that the bottom was 57K in June. And I did say as early as I think January that I thought we were going to go down to at least 57K. And so at least on that number, even though it didn't last into October, at least I got the number right. And again, there still is a 1/3 chance that even if it goes up and like Peter's out here, that there'll be some bad news between now and October that it goes down and blips into the 50s again. But right now, I would say that we certainly have good signs that the bull has started. It's going to be a long bull. It's not like we're going to get to 126K by Christmas. But I think we've started the 3-year climb to the top. And if the bottom was in June, that will be the earliest that the bear market has ever ended. Because 4 years it was a year to the day. 4 years before that, it was three days short of a year, and the first halving it was 5 weeks after a year. So June is only 8 months. So that would affect a lot of other things going forward. We can get into that the rest of the show.
So a lot of people were waiting for October, September end to come in as you had predicted. But what is your gut and what does the math say?
Well,
October, are we still
I
sticking
always
onto
said
that?
since June, there was only a 2/3 chance that it was going to be October and a 1/3 chance that it was June. And not 90-10, not 95-5. So if everybody's saying, oh, you were wrong, it was like, no, I basically said that you should be DCAing now. We are. We have been. We got much more heavily into buying in the upper 50s. We bought things at 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62. Those are all great buys. Especially when we think the worst case scenario for the top of next bull is going to be 180. Even if you buy it at 8, you buy it 78, you buy it 82, you buy it 90. 90 in the 3-year investment to go to 180 is still doubling your money. And if it goes, to 250, you're almost tripling your money. So I think that again, there's still about a 1/3 chance that we're going to go lower, but it'll be a blip at this point. I don't think it's going to be something that stays down for a long time. I wouldn't say that 40s are off the table yet, but they're looking increasingly less likely. The only thing that would cause us to go down there would be something, again, catastrophic on the crypto side, not even on the macro side. The white swan that we're referring to, just like, if we go back all the way back to last October, 8 months ago, right? The top was in at October 4th. We were bumping along the top, really since inauguration day when it stopped at 119, and then July it went up to 120-ish. August it was at 120-ish. Besson kind of like cooled the market a bit in August of last year. This time he heated up, so it's interesting that he sort of hurt Bitcoin's momentum in August of last year, and he's now been one of the catalysts. I'm calling what happened this week a white swan, and I'm saying it's driven by the 4 horsemen of the new bull market. And those 4 horsemen are Trump, Bessent, SEC Chairman Paul Atkins, and CTFC Chairman Mike Selling. Not Warsh. Warsh didn't do anything pro-crypto. He's been sort of sitting on the sidelines. Although Warsh basically, when he came in and said he thought the proper thing to do was to lower interest rates, but then also, kind of add buybacks. So that's exactly what Bessent has done. Um, and the Four Horsemen have had an impact. And with the Four Horsemen, they did four interesting things that were all bullish. Number one, Red Crypto. That actually happened the day before the White House summit. And again, I had low expectations for this White House summit. It was interesting. It was the last day of the SALT conference in Jackson Hole that I just came back from. It's odd that they would kind of have it the same day that all the top crypto leaders and Fed leaders and heads of the SEC and everything were in Jackson Hole. They all had to hop on a plane real quick to get there the next day to Washington. But it was interesting because if you recall, there have been other past crypto summits and they've all been nothing burgers, right? They've all been Trump standing up and saying, I love crypto and, it's all going to be great and like no news, right? And so the market
You
either was
sounded
flat
very
or even
similar to
dropped.
Trump, by the way. You sounded so
Yeah, I've been
similar to
practicing
Trump,
it, I
by the
guess.
way.
Been practicing a
You
little
know,
bit. Fan of the president, but, I like to impersonate anybody I can. So basically, this time was different, right? This time you had, first of all, the first good sign was the day before the summit, which is when the CTFC and the SEC, they agreed several months ago that they were going to put together a structure that they agreed upon, which is sort of pre-clarity before the Clarity Act. But what they said with Reg Crypto, I don't know if everybody's paid full attention to this, but basically the ICO market is now fully regulated and back, right? You can go in now and in the United States, you don't have to go to the Cook Islands anymore or set up foundations in Switzerland. You can go into Wyoming, set up an LLC, and go and sell $5 million of tokens over a 4-year period with, just a minimum amount of filing, kind of like filing a Reg D for fundraising or filing a Reg CF for crowdfunding. This is not equity. This is a token sale, right? So in the past, they'd all been like, well, this is a security and you got to file a Reg D and you can't be on exchanges there. Here, it's kind of this hybrid thing. And the way the lawyers have been explaining it to me is that your fundraising activity is a security, but the token sale itself is not. And so you're having this exemption now under this Reg Crypto to go and sell tokens. And you're not selling equity, you're selling, an asset. And so what's good for the United States is now innovation will come back. Anybody and their brother, as long as they're not doing anything fraudulent, can go and sell up to $5 million of tokens that will be taxable, by the way. So that's not a net operating loss for equity. And I think this will then further encourage companies to go set up and raise both equity first and then tokens, right? Because if you raise equity first, say you raise $1 million or $2 million and you have a token airdrop, right? You can then go in and raise up to the amount of that net operating loss, and you'll be taxed, but you're going to be offset by the net operating loss, and so you'll be able to pretty much keep the money that you raise from the equity as well as the money that you raise from the token sale without having to have all the expense of going offshore. I mean, Trump was really committed many months ago to saying we want to build this in America. We don't want to go and force people to go to, Cook Islands and, Cayman Islands and all these places that are building outside of America. And so this is very good news for crypto. So that was number one, was Reg Crypto. Oh, and the other part of Reg Crypto was the 75 million per year that you could raise with a bit more regulation. I mean, a bit more disclosure. And I think you actually needed some filing with the SEC and it had to be approved. But hopefully it's not going to be as tough to approve as the last time they did this with the Reg A plus. But basically, those numbers, 5 million and 75 million, they sound familiar. They are. The $5 million over 4-year period really mimics the crowdfunding laws, right? So instead of crowdfunding for equity, now you're able to crowdfund for tokens. And the 75 million per year kind of emulates the Reg A Plus for securities, but now it's for tokens. So if you're a larger entity, right? Say you go out and your seed round is for your token is you go and raise $5 million in give it up to 4 years, but say you raise it over a year, you build your product, you become successful, and you want to go and do a much bigger raise. You can go in and kind of do a secondary effectively and raise 75 million. And I think this is something that really you haven't seen much of unless it's sort of a like a conversion. I mean, I can't remember many secondary offerings in crypto, right? Because usually you have a fixed amount, but you can always hold off and sort of have something go out sort of at the market rate. Um, Probably the closest thing I remember is when you have something convert into a new token, like say when storage ended up like moving from Bitcoin to Ethereum, they ended up doing a new raise. I think the innovation's back and financial innovation's back and things are going to come flooding into the United States, which is why you not only saw Bitcoin go up, you saw Ethereum go up more. And because what are all the ICOs on? They're on Ethereum and they're on Solana. And so both of those shot up. And that's all great news. So that was number one, was Red Crypto. Number two, of course, was Scott Bessent saying that they were going to go and double the amount of buybacks of the long-term dated bonds, like the 30-year, 10 to 30-year bonds, from $2 billion to $4 billion. Now, that sounds like a very small amount of money when our deficit just reached 40 trillion this week. 40 trillion. I remember it's not that long ago when we were bitching about it being 30 trillion. What was that, a year and a half ago? I mean, I think 30 trillion was while Trump at least was campaigning. So we're going to be at 50 trillion in no time at this rate. I mean, we're adding $1 trillion every 2 to 3 months to the deficit, and that 2 billion is just a starting point. It may end up being 2 billion weekly or 4 billion weekly. I mean, so this is sort of like what a lot of analysts have been calling kind of soft QE. So you're really kind of doing quantitative easing without calling it a program, just like the buybacks, the bank repo, blah blah blah. They call it different things. It's still just another name for money printer go. Brrr. Money printing is good for Bitcoin, right? It puts more money into the economy. It puts more of a risk-on appetite. So what Besson did was what really kicked off the. Even though Red Crypto was the night before, I think that in combination with the new liquidity is really what kicked off this rally yesterday morning when it started moving into the high 60s. And then, by the end of the day, it hit 70. And today we're at are we at 78 yet? I've been watching the things. We're at 77 and on the verge of 78. Let's see where we're at. So we're at 77.5. We're probably 78 on some exchange. And we'll see also where the weekends, because that's really the weekly charts are what count more to be not just a wick. And so if we end the week at Sunday at like 80, even 79, I'd say we're at 90% chance that that the bottom was in June, and it's not straight up to all-time highs, but it will be a good time to buy, and keep buying, and you make most of your money. According to my book and what I believe in is you make most of your money if you're going to sell at the top and buy back at the bottom. You want to buy back as much as possible now and then put some more money in once you get the new all-time high of next cycle, which will be in 2028.
Brilliant. Since we were talking about all these guys who are stationed in DC, we decided to get somebody from DC with us. We have Bruce Porter Jr. joining us.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey guys. Hey, how are you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great. Bitcoin's almost 78K and it was 63 at the start of the week.
Oh, come on. You were buying at like the dips at 57. I mean,
We
it's
bought early at 57, 58, 59. Yeah, we didn't put
yeah.
all in because we thought there was a good chance it was going to go lower. But definitely anytime, as I've said, below the 200-week moving average, and then when it flips to above it, is a great time to buy. So buy.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you what, you've done an amazing job really with your book and the tour and everything. It's letting everybody know. I've definitely referenced you a number of times saying that Michael Terpin is buying now. He's buying now. The whole super cycle. So, yeah, good job.
And I will look forward to being at your You're in blockchain week.
Thank you. Thank you. We're looking forward to having you. It's really shaping up nice there at the Hard Rock in Times Square. And yeah, really excited to see you and Joyce. Always a pleasure.
So,
Super.
Bruce, thank you for joining us. Do you have any question for Michael with all of this? Because I could see you in the backstage giggling and laughing, and enjoying whatever Michael was saying,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
do you have any questions for Michael?
Sure. Well, Michael, we've known each other for a long time. He's been at this for a long time. So it's nice to see when somebody calls something so right, and they've written a book like that to bring it to the public. I know I had quite a few colleagues and friends that were there in Jackson Hole with you. It really is something else. I mean, you look at all of the levers that are being pulled one way or the other to make this happen, and then you mention the debt, which is scary too. But yeah, I mean, this thing is just really going to fly. Now, there's other people that are saying we're going to this run up go, and then it's going to come down like October, November, something like that. Are you thinking that it's going to be that quick, or do you think it's going to continue much longer?
So I am basically going from at the start of the week, I was still at 30-40% chance the bottom was in June, to about now 2/3 that the bottom is in June. So in other words, that we're not going to go lower. Now I think we'll retrace, but I don't think we'll retrace below 57. It's possible that we could retrace below the 200-week moving average again, but the point is that if it goes any lower than now, buy, and if it goes, but I don't think, short of some calamity that's a black swan to offset the white swan that just happened, I think that low 40s is kind of off the table now.
Yeah.
Well,
in other words, could we still go back down to
now?
53? Sure, we could. But I think that it's more likely that we kind of retrace this down to the low 70s and kind of wobble around the 70s for a while. I mean, I can still see us in the mid 70s come end of the year. I could also see us being at 90. I don't see us being at 100 by the end of the year. If so, then we're really positioning for the super cycle.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, for sure. Go ahead, Molly.
You keep saying that it's the right time to buy, but all the crypto bros are crying right now because they all are in so deep that there is no liquidity perhaps left to buy anything whatsoever. Because every time you said buy,
well, that's because they didn't sell at the top. You have to sell at the top or make a lot of new money to put in. I mean, look, there's a lot of hodlers who haven't sold anything ever, and they're still fine. But they, if they have any excess liquidity, I mean, look, Saylor, was originally never sell, and it turns out he actually sold his 3 sales that he had were at like 59, 60, and 62. So he actually sold at the bottom. And I've told him over the years, it was just like, Michael, you should sell at the top. And he's like, well, if I sell at the top, then that wrecks the thesis for a lot of the people who believe that I never sell. But if you look, he did sell in 2022, and he did sell now. So he's, I guess you could probably, besides the reverse Kramer, buy when Kramer says sell. You could probably also do maybe the reverse Saylor, because when he sold was a great time to buy.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because Trump and his team have done so much to push things, but then also, like Vali pointed out, the crypto bros, crying. I think at 119, Trump, not Trump Jr., the other Trump son said, "Buy now," and then everything goes down, and then. But it's really hard. I actually had some friends asking me as the price was going up over and over. Bruce, should I buy now? Should I buy now? Should I buy now? And most of my advice, really, over 100 was sell. And unfortunately, most of them didn't listen to me. But I do think, to Valley's point, a lot of liquidity was sucked out of the people that have been in crypto for so long. It was sucked out of them from signals like that, and also the meme coin. I think the Trump meme coin, that sucked a lot of liquidity out of Solana. So, but guys, there's really nothing else to do but to get back on that horse and do it. I mean, that's really the only answer. Wouldn't you agree, Michael?
Absolutely. And again, Reg Crypto now means that if you're a builder, you now have ways of bringing liquidity into your own projects that weren't there 2 days ago. And so I mentioned the four things that the four horsemen of the new bull market have done. So
I loved
again, Besant with the buybacks now of the bonds, excess liquidity, and then Selig and Atkins basically with Reg Crypto. The other ones were that gosh, they basically pumped hype. Right? I mean, they literally talked about hype and trying to like bring it into the United States and this and that. And hype was already at an all-time high and hit another all-time high today. And of course, a lot of people, some of the pundits were saying, yeah, I'm guessing that Trump probably did 100x buy long on hype right before he went on stage. But
wouldn't you? I mean, that's the thing. Like, wouldn't you? Of course he did.
Well, that's
and the ones close to him.
I was going to say the fourth thing beside kind of pumping the altcoins was I think that a lot of this, and perhaps if I was thinking more strategically, hey, I thought there was going to be big announcements to the positive at the first crypto ball that I was at the inauguration. Instead, he like dropped his meme coin while Snoop Dogg was on stage, and it ended up like tanking things, right? So I guess I had low expectations of crypto summits because none of them have pumped before. But this time he was really coordinated, really strategic. He had everybody from like Sergey at Chainlink to Brian Armstrong there, all praising him and saying how excited they were with crypto and some of these other things. But I think this was all sort of like this. The fourth element of what happened the last 2 days is, there's been a very coordinated effort to try to shift the few Democrats that are the balance between passing, the Clarity Act and not passing it. They have enough votes to be over 50. They just don't have enough votes to stop the filibuster. And so what I was hearing in Jackson Hole was that some of the conversations now are about, maybe some of the Democrats just abstain, or they basically say, I'm not going to vote for a filibuster, but I won't vote for the bill. And so if they can just simply stop the filibuster, then it passes. It's interesting, though, because that word has not gotten out to the general public. If you look on Polymarket, as of last night when I checked, it was still only 20% odds to pass. So it's a 5-to-1 bet if you think it's going to pass on Polymarket to go and say it will by the end of the year. I think that it's a very good thing if it does pass. Okay, I'm sorry you got cut off there, but
yeah,
I think it's a very good thing.
I think Bruce is having some connectivity.
Yeah, Bruce is choppy there. Maybe we'll come back on.
I think I'm back now. I got on my Wi-Fi network. Okay. I was driving to see my daughter, but yeah, I'm back on the network. So it is a nice.
Okay. But Michael, I think you might have to drop off. But then, please go ahead and tell us about your event, which is happening in Las Vegas. We all want to hear about it, Michael, before you drop off.
Yeah, sure. I actually don't have a hard stop right now, so I can go a few more minutes.
Oh, lovely. Okay, today we can have a longer conversation. Great.
Yeah. No, the hard stop was my prior meeting. My next meeting isn't for a few more hours. So, okay. So, Las Vegas. I've started BitAngels in early 2013, and then Coin Agenda in 2014 is the first BitAngels, the first angel group connecting founders and funders, going all the way back. We're in 40 cities now. We're actually opening Montreal today. In fact, I'll be doing thank you. I'll be doing a Zoom to kick it off. Montreal, a great community, and
one of my favorite cities.
We kicked off Manila, and Joyce is out walking the dog, or she'd say which other cities, but I know we have a few other cities coming on, and we're in New York City right now. So we rebranded Coin Agenda. Was the first and longest continuously running crypto investor conference, and we rebranded it as Tokenize in 2024. And we've been all over the world with it. We've done Dubai, we've done Monaco. I've been sort of concentrating on the U.S. and the Caribbean the last couple of years. Because the prices have gone so high, sky high, but I love doing things in Dubai and in Europe, and we'll be back at some point, maybe next bull market. But right now, we've got Tiger Mansion, which is the former Mike Tyson residence where he kept his tigers. That's something I bought a few years ago. Probably spent too much Bitcoin on it, but that's okay. It's a great property. And we rent it out for corporate events, and we also use it for our own conference. And so we're kind of returning to Money 2020 for the first time in a few years. Money
Good one.
2020 had gotten away from crypto for a while. During Biden, they were kind of afraid of it. The only sessions they would do are like, regulating crypto. How many people can we put in jail and how fast? And nobody
Yeah.
cared. Nobody showed up for it. And but now it's stable coins. It's a payment show, right? The crypto speakers are back, and so we're back too. And so we already did our global event in April in Las Vegas, also Tiger Mansion, and we did our Caribbean event, which is Puerto Rico Blockchain Week in March. But we thought we needed a fall event, and we typically do this thing called Tokenize AI. We've held it before in San Francisco and LA, and we thought, let's return to Vegas. So we're going to be doing it during Money 2020. So that's the 19th to the 21st of October. We're going to be starting it off with a political fundraiser, Bruce. Anybody who's a
Cool.
candidate that you want to sort of like invite, we're going to be promoting pro crypto candidates.
So important.
At the Tiger Mansion, and we're doing it in coordination with both the Digital Chamber and Stand with Crypto. And so that'll be the 19th. It'll be a standalone event. It'll also be kind of participation included for speaker sponsors and VIPs. Paid attendees. The VIPs are the speakers and sponsors, and then we'll be all about AI and entertainment for this and payments and politics, I guess, at this one. And so we got early confirmations. We're going to have some folks from SUI, from Hedera, from Midnight, and Patrick Byrne from Overstock. And so we're going to be announcing a lot more folks very soon.
Awesome, man. I'll tell you what, I've obviously over the years, we've been at most of them, or I wouldn't say most of them, but we've been at a lot of them in Puerto Rico and Dubai and Monaco and all these. It's really fun, and you guys do a great job. And I know you mentioned Joyce being there or not being there at the moment to feed you the stuff. I know exactly how that is. So we're looking forward to...
She's running the show. She's running the events, and she's doing a great job.
She's great.
TokenizeConference.com.
Yeah, Tokenize, and what a great name change too. So, yeah, we're excited. We're excited to come in October. We're excited to welcome you in New York as well. We're doing an event 1 month before, almost exactly. It's kind of almost like a festival, Blockchain Week, UN Blockchain Week, which we refined the branding this year to Blockchain Week UNGA or UNGA edition. And it really has taken on a life of its own. I think for some reason, to what you kind of mentioned, the geopolitical situation, it's expensive to go places. Most of the time, in past years, we would be in Dubai in September or October, and doing the stuff there.
Well, the war had an impact too.
Yes, the war has had an impact.
One of the largest crypto conferences in the world historically has been during GITEX, I guess it's pronounced, which is kind of the CES of Dubai. They get 200,000 people, and they had something called the Future Blockchain Summit that I've spoken at the past. Yep. And that's in October. Well, they moved that. They were like, we're not sure that the bombs are going to stop dropping yet. So they moved it. Actually, it's now in December, the same week as Abu Dhabi FinTech Week, which is going to be kind of crazy. So hopefully things are all straightened up by then. And I'm currently planning on going over and speaking at both events in December. So that'll be my return to Dubai. First time since the skirmish.
Yeah.
And I was there in February this year for Satoshi Roundtable, and that was only a couple weeks before the war started.
Yeah.
But actually, Satoshi Roundtable is moving to Puerto Rico this year.
Great.
It's for the first time ever. It's going to be in the end of January, and I've been, I'm the only person other than obviously Bruce and the other, founders to attend every Satoshi Roundtable, and I've been pestering him to try to consider Puerto Rico
there you go.
as a venue, and he did. He's buying out the entire Condado Vanderbilt Hotel, and it'll be great. So it's an invite only, and you can DM me or Bruce Fenton to see if you qualify. But it's definitely a who's who, kind of like Salt.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was in Dubai at the same time. I told my wife. My wife was worried, and I said, "Look, the bombs aren't going to start flying during the Olympics," and I was right. But yeah, that's totally awesome. I also want to give everybody, of course, the website for the Blockchain Week in New York. It's during UNGA. blockchainweek.ai. So you can go there, you can secure your tickets. If we have a pretty large span of speakers right now, so I don't know if you want to speak, you have to talk to me. I don't know. We'll see. But great venue as well there at the Hard Rock. And the thing about these gatherings, and I know you can attest to this too, but one of the most important things that we can do as humans to move this forward, and as a blockchain community, period, is to gather together and talk to each other and start to move the needle together. Because as a community, we are across borders, across races, across religions and everything. We are the most powerful community in the world. And we need to start really realizing that. Yes, we need to realize it. We need to vote together. We need to push the things together that are important to us. And that's really, kind of behind what that event for sure is about. And it spans 10 days. September 10, we have a kickoff orbital runway event to the 19th.
Well, the power of this community too is when you look at the impact of the crypto community on the presidential elections in 2020 versus 2024, night and day, right?
Yes.
In 2020, it's all like, oh, how can we possibly outspend big pharma and the big banks? And in 2024,
no problem. Hold my beer. Yeah, it's true. And now moving forward, I actually I had a call yesterday with the gentleman, Aaron Glutner, I think I hate to say that because I don't have his last name right in front of me, but he's running for governor in Rhode Island, real pro crypto candidate. And, these guys we're all saying the same stuff, like lower taxes, less control, more privacy, get rid of these cameras. Like speed ticket cameras is basically another tax. You know what I mean? It's like and like these are ideals that we all pretty much believe in. And that's kind of to my point, that we need to really recognize that we may not agree on this or we may not agree on that. But I mean, Michael and I don't agree on everything, I'm sure, but we've been friends a long time, and we know that the things of liberty, privacy, ownership, these are all something that we believe in, and that's important. And so that's
and you'll be conveying that, and we certainly do agree on those things. Unfortunately, you'll be having your conference in the belly of the beast, New York City and New York State, which is sort of promoting the opposite these days. Government control of everything.
Yes.
Kill the rich.
Yeah.
And distribute the money to people who want to live on the street. Unfortunately, that's been something that California's been advocating, and and it's all in one big bucket. I mean, they're anti-crypto, anti-AI, shut down the data centers, redistribute wealth, get rid of the police, and it's dangerous. And I think this is a very important midterm election because if party red right now is party orange, no matter what else you care about, and it's a shame because it should not be a political kind of football. It should be something. I mean, the Chamber of Digital Commerce. I mean, Perianne Boring actually orange pilled the very first congressman. I think it was Warren Davidson about 10 years ago, and now I think there's 285 congressmen and women who basically say that they support the crypto industry. That's more than half, right?
Huge.
Well more than half.
Yeah,
but even though they say they do, that doesn't mean that they're all voting for the Clarity Act, and they won't vote to impeach Trump if the Democrats take the House by even one vote. And that's all you're going to hear the next 2 years if they don't keep the House. So if you're at a place where you can vote, I'm Puerto Rican, so I can't, but I can still talk about who I support. Come to our political fundraiser, come to Tokenize AI in Las Vegas, and just go out and vote, and vote for Party Orange, and let's keep innovation in both AI and crypto going, and not just hand it over to to China and the UAE.
Yeah,
I'm an Indian who will be traveling to US soon for your events, and I have no comment on any political issues because I don't want to be scrubbed.
You better watch it, man. They'll stop you at the thing. I can't believe the stuff that goes on now. It's really important for us to do it. I can't stress it enough. So join us if you can there in New York, and join in Vegas. But it's us that are pushing this forward. But it's not so much about us; it's about the next generation. You might even hear, my daughters here in the background. It's about them. It's about them having a future. And crypto, we already changed the world. I mean, someone wants to send 50 grand or 100 grand or something like this around. I don't use a wire. You know what I mean? I use crypto, and I'm sure it's the same for you guys, and the same for a lot of people. And so that paradigm has already shifted a lot, but it's really important now for us to work together, support, like Michael is saying, the right people that are gonna push our ideals forward, because it's up to us. It's we're the ones carrying the mantle now.
Bruce actually brought in a very important point here, saying that the future is at stake. Our children's futures is at stake. With let's talk about AI for a bit, because whenever I read about AGI, I actually had Ben on the show. In fact, let me send a message to Ben and see if he's available. Would love to quickly get him on. Uh, One sec. So I had Ben, the godfather of AGI, from Singularity. The conversations that we have had, right? Everybody is trying to underplay the effect of AI, but it has clearly taken away a lot of jobs, and it will continue to take away a lot of jobs with Grokbot coming in.
Actually, so
Forget
far
what.
that's not been true. That's not been true. The data so far is that it's actually created jobs. Maybe certain types of jobs are going to go away. Look, they were rioting in the streets in the 1800s because they were afraid that the printing press people who actually set physical type were going to go out of business because they had automated newspapers. There was worry about the people who put horseshoes on horses, and what was going to happen to them when the automobile came around, right? And so jobs are replaced by other jobs. And, those right now, for every person who's maybe entry level, who doesn't know AI, who can't get a job, all you have to do is learn AI. You're 21 years old. Learn AI. You'll go in and you'll get more job offers than you can think about.
And
And
produce the most amazing things that you've ever produced.
True. The execution and idea, the distance is reduced by miles, right? Because
Oh my
earlier you
gosh.
had an idea, you had to go and talk
3
to somebody.
weeks of work in 3 hours. I mean, it's crazy.
100%.
It's crazy.
In fact, I would say 3 weeks of work, three people now in 3 hours, just by one person and one AI subscription that you get right. But
Well, let's talk about websites, right? I mean, obviously they've had Wix for a long time, et cetera. But in terms of a quality website, I mean, not that long ago, it'd be like $30,000 to $50,000 and a web development team to
Yeah,
go and get a very functional website. I just had my last website vibe coded in like an hour or two with
exactly. And it's the
a
best one you
budget of
ever
like
had.
under $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
like the best one that you've ever had too. I'm sure. I haven't looked. I mean, I'm just saying. It's like it's that much better. So I think to your point, both your points. One, yeah, it is scary, Volley. I mean, I'm not hiring people to do some of this stuff because I don't need to anymore. But then at the same time, the productivity is like through the roof. So, and there are different initiatives of people that are trying to put AI in schools and in the hands of the kids, because that's really that. I mean, there's no stopping it, right? So if there's no stopping it, then what we need to do is bring everybody up to speed so that our kids are super productive as well. And then, I mean, it's just crazy how fast everything is going to move forward. It's really just mind boggling.
absolutely. But Michael, you mentioned in the past how from the physical or manual printing we moved to automated printing. That took a long time. It didn't happen in like 9 months or 10 months. The way AI ecosystem and the entire infrastructure has moved from a chatbot to being able to control your computer and get stuff done for you. That speed is scary, right? Because back in the day, it gave you some time to prepare. I still remember in India, getting a car, you had to book like 6 months or 1 year in advance to get your car. For the same thing with the landline, you had to wait for a few months. Now the speed is insane.
Mhm.
So that speed
This
is
has been an
something that
accelerating curve for quite. This has been an accelerating curve for quite some time. Yeah, Gutenberg invented kind of movable
printing press.
type in like what the 1300s or something like that, and then it took until the 1900s to get linotype and et cetera, et cetera. But and now you got vibe coding. But you basically, there's a really good book that talked about how crazy fast everything is moving and how it's going to disrupt the world, and it was right. It's called Future Shock. That was in 1970.
Wow.
It started in the 50s, 60s, 70s with just the
Hmm.
invention of the computer, right? And then the internet, but it all layers on top of one another. The reason why blockchain moved faster than the internet did was because you didn't have to invent the internet to put blockchain on, right? And the same reason with AI. My brother, younger brother, graduated from AI, artificial intelligence lab with Minsky, decades ago. And but when he got a job in AI, it was like programming on big mainframes in Lisp language, and it took months to do programs. Now it's like vibe coding and like very quick, and the capacities. The growth of things like. We've never seen a company like Anthropic before go from
Hmm.
like, a million in ARR to 10 million in ARR to 100 million in ARR to a billion in ARR to 10 billion in ARR. Each of those iterations was like months, right? Now they're talking about 100 billion to 120 billion in ARR this year from 10 last year. That's insane. So they're now going to go public, with forward-looking projections of $400 to $500 billion for a company that's less than 5 years old.
And
That's
also
unprecedented. Never happened before.
the startup game and the ecosystem has changed a lot. Earlier you could get funded just on your idea. The last YC Combinators demo day that I was following, the 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 projects were pitching already have $15 million in revenue, $6 million in revenue, $3 million in revenue. This was never heard before. The entire startup ecosystem has also shifted to an extent of saying that, hey, your idea is okay, but what is the traction? Was the earlier conversation, but now the conversation is about how much revenue are you making. Have you guys seen that in your space too?
So I got a hard stop here, and I got to put a couple of things together. So I'm gonna hop off. I'm gonna let Michael take that one. Michael, always a pleasure to see you. Great to join you. I look forward to seeing you in New York in a few weeks. Volley, always a pleasure, brother. Thanks for having me on as well.
Thank you, Bruce, for coming in. And I have sent a message to Ben from Singularity. If he's free, he would just join in. He's seen the message, not responded, but it'll be a very interesting conversation because I did mention last time while having a conversation with him that we bring in Michael every week, and he did mention that you guys have met earlier and had conversations. So let's see if he
I've known
comes
Ben
in.
for a
But
long, long time. Long, long time.
okay.
All
So,
right,
Bruce,
guys.
thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Connect soon. Thank you.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers. So, Michael, you said that last week you had a few short positions. Did you close them in time?
Oh yeah.
Great. You said no rush. You will get in the near price next week. Anyone who listened to you perhaps missed about 23% more in 7 days. Uh, what do you have to say to them?
Oh no, no. I said that. I know what I said. I said basically that there was a 1/3 chance that the bottom was already in, a 2/3 chance that it was still coming, based on the data of a week ago. But I said that you can't go wrong, basically buying at anything below the 200-week moving average, and that's what we continue to do. So
Great. Ben,
I don't think it was proper a week ago to go and put all your capital, because the odds back then, before the little white swan that we had with the White House, there was a better chance it was going to go lower than higher. But you change with the data, and but I certainly said that nobody's going to consider it a bad investment if you're buying at 65K when you know it's going to go up to 180.
true. We have Ben with us from Singularity Net. Ben, thank you so much for joining in as a special guest. Your mic is not connected. Your mic is not connected. Can you do a check? Say
He's
something.
muted.
Uh, can you just check your audio source? I was so like I'm still so excited, but now this mic is kind of playing up here. Just see your input. Uh, Okay. By the time Ben figures that out, Michael, so, let me ask you another thing that uh, Ethereum fans are like so happy and so relieved that at last they got to see some action. However, my question to you is, will this continue for Ethereum? For Bitcoin, you have given us clarity, but what about Ethereum?
Ethereum historically always overperforms at the top and underperforms at the bottom, and so we're coming off the bottom. So I'm comfortable, holding, maybe adding to some of my Ethereum positions. So I think that the reason why Ethereum did even better than Bitcoin over the last 48 hours was because of Red Crypto. Because again, where are new projects and token sales going to be built? Ethereum and Solana. And so they basically raise money and they raise it in ETH and they spend it in ETH, or maybe convert it to USDT along the road. But that's your ecosystem.
Hey, I think my mic should work now.
It is
Hey,
working.
Hey. So I'm actually traveling around with my wife and kids. I just got a few minutes now, but I couldn't resist the great Michael Turpin. So, yeah, and good to
Great.
see you also, Valley.
Thank you, Ben. We were having we have a partnership with BitAngels and we get Michael Turpin every week. I remember in our last conversation, you had mentioned something that you wanted to ask perhaps Michael in, like how the market is moving. So I thought this is a great time to bring you up and maybe give you this opportunity to ask Michael himself.
To be honest, I have no recollection what the hell we were talking about. And on the other hand, no, I do have a lot of respect for Michael's views on the market in general, and yeah, I think we're entering into a super interesting time now because I think AI is going to keep going up on the moving average for sure. Like we're entering the singularity, but there's going to be palpitations like there always are when markets are involved, and decentralized AI is not yet a huge thing in actual practice. I mean, the AI systems that are biggest commercially are made by big centralized companies, but I think through the technology my own teams and Singularity Net are working on, I mean, as well as others, like we're now at the point where decentralized AI is sort of technically ready to to become big time. Like you can train AI systems on decentralized networks now. You can roll out AI systems on decentralized networks now. It's just the level of capital is not there behind the decentralized networks the way it is behind big tech, which is
it
now.
will get there though, and I have to give
Yeah,
you
yeah.
a
So
kudos and a shout out. I mean, you were doing decentralized AI in what, 2017?
I mean, to be honest, I started building decentralized AI systems in 2001 or something. In 2017, I capitalized it a bit with the Singularity Net ICO, and we've learned a lot
And that was
through.
5 years prior to ChatGPT, which is just to put it in
Yeah,
perspective.
and we've learned a lot since then, both about AI and how to make AI decentralized, right? And I mean, we're launching a new layer one, the ASI chain, sometime early next year, which lets you run AI on chain, right? Instead of just sort of having your AI off the side of the smart contract within a decentralized network. But I think that where this intersects with your own views on the crypto markets is, I mean, the next crypto bull run, it's likely to be the source of capitalization for the build out of decentralized AI, which will be what then allows decentralized AI to overtake centralized AI finally. Like it may time out quite interestingly. And Michael, I've always appreciated your simplistic but rigorous view of the crypto market cycle. Like there's economic macro cycle, there's regulatory changes which are interesting and important, but then I mean the Bitcoin cycle itself remains there as a bit of mathematics underpinning everything, and the alts follow along that with a certain logic. So I think the timing of that
Well, the
cycle.
alts typically Yeah, the alts typically have different cycles. I mean, they follow it in the sense that when Bitcoin pops, you better sell all your altcoins, and then with Bitcoin, you can go back into Bitcoin, wash and repeat, hold Bitcoin for 3 years, sell at the top, buy it back at the bottom. With alts, you have to rotate. Typically, you're going to go in and sell your alts, and usually they pump after the final pump is usually maybe a month or two after the but this last cycle was very unusual. I mean, most of the ended up like peaking in like March or April, and Bitcoin didn't peak until October. Although you could say that the initial kind of top, very early, at least within 10% of the top, was election day, right? I mean, not election day, inauguration day. You had your initial all-time high on election day, 73,850. That started the bull market. That started what I call Bitcoin summer, and then you ended up kind of having your first pop on inauguration day when it was kind of a solid news at 119. Didn't quite get to 120. We never got higher than 126. 9 months later, and
But
whereas
what you
the
would say though is the next major alt season could be when decentralized AGI is
I think it is
capitalized
going to be, well,
by the token.
usually every cycle is the same for Bitcoin, right? But it's different for alts. It's always, you can't buy the same alts back. The first cycle for alts was basically the was about better mining, right? So in other words, it was like the dawn of Litecoin and Devcoin and Namecoin, and so that was the first cycle. The second cycle was then about what they called, so that was 2009 through 2012. The second cycle after the first halving was about innovation, what they called Bitcoin 2.0. I don't call that anymore, but that's what it's called, Bitcoin 2.0. And waves came out of that, and some of the other early kind of layer ones. And then the third cycle, after the second halving, that was the ICO cycle, right? That's where you had the attempt at a flippening where Ethereum was supposed to pass Bitcoin. It never did, but it certainly created the impact of the ICO, which just disrupted completely at its time the venture capital market. And then that crashed just like the dot-coms crashed. But I think that now with Reg Crypto, we're going to see a second wave of innovation that's going to be bigger in terms of dollars than what we ever had in 2017-18. It'll be a flight to quality. It's not going to be like, I mean, one reason why 2017 was so bullish was because there was no KYC. There was basically just throw your Ethereum address out there and anybody with ETH could go and buy, and then it tripled the next day, right? Well, you have no idea who was pumping it, who was dumping it, how much of it was
I
like,
remember that.
traced
Like
back to like,
you're sitting there watching Coin Market Cap every day. Like
that's
what
right.
the
And it just
what
was
the fuck
20%
is
higher
that?
the next day.
What the
Yeah.
fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Yeah,
I know
yeah.
exactly, and so, but that was the third sort of cycle, the ICO bubble and then drop, and the next cycle after that, you had to basically be in the narrative coins, which were like L2s, DeFi. People forget DeFi didn't even really come into existence until 2020. Remember DeFi summer? And so it was DeFi and NFTs and the metaverse were the hot things that you had to follow. Nobody even talks about the metaverse anymore. It will have a second coming, and probably will have a second coming around metaverse plus AI. And then really this last cycle that we're still in technically until the next halving, but it's already popped and dropped. Really had three narratives. It had RWA, it had DEXs where Hyperliquid just exploded, dexes and perp dexes is sort of the next wave of dexes, which 8 years ago they were arresting you for having a dex. Now and then Uniswap kind of changed things, and now with Hyperliquid, that's just like a top 10 coin that came out of nowhere. And AI, of course. And so I think that just like DeFi had sort of two cycles of it morphed, I think that decentralized AI will be the number one narrative of the next cycle. And so the ones that are the current leaders, Tau and VVV and ASI and virtuals will do very well. And there will probably ones that are 100x plus. You obviously incubate a lot of new tokens, and so I'm excited to see what you have coming out of the factory. And I'm sure one of them will be 100x. And then the ones that are just coming. For example, Arthur Hayes. Do you see what he just announced?
No,
Arthur Hayes just announced in his blog post the other day. It's called the Book of Genesis, and he basically announced a coin that's going to be a mineable coin for tokens called Flop. Of course, I immediately DM'd him and said, "Is this kind of a cross between what Venice's DM is doing and Ganka?" And he's just like, "You want to mine it?"
I mean,
So,
everyone likes what Venice is doing for
everybody
obvious.
loves what Venice is doing. Eric's a genius. He's been one of the leading, forces in crypto innovation ever since he did Satoshi Dice in 2010. Venice is just a killer, and good friends with Eric, and I work closely with his dad on a project, and so I think that will be, and they're probably one of the first projects. They recently got a unicorn valuation on their equity, and they've already been a unicorn on the token. So I can't think of the last.
I mean, we're going to see a lot more equity and token convergence. I mean, that doesn't change the basic cycle, but it is a place where regulatory changes are
Well,
going
and
to.
I think that let's just look at the one thing that hasn't changed much has been sort of the Bitcoin dominance, right? It's usually goes between low 50s and low 60s throughout the cycle. What that means is that everything else is like 40 to 50%, right? And let's say stable coins are maybe 10% of that. That means that altcoins written large are like a third of the market, sometimes a little bit higher in the bull market. So if you're talking 30 to 40%, and you're right now at the bottom of the bear just starting to turn at 2.5 trillion, I don't see it as being controversial that we'll get up to, let's say we get up to, my range of where we're going to get at the top of the next bull market in 2029 is somewhere on the low side of 180. And if the super cycle starts and we don't get it cut short with a black swan like happened on 1010, a lot of people coordinating to like drop the price quickly, we could get up into the 400 range, right? So 400,000 times 20 million coins. I mean, that's $8 trillion. And if you're at 8 trillion for Bitcoin, that means everything else would be 8 trillion. That's pretty phenomenal, right? I mean, because right now the altcoin sector is barely a trillion and change, and so if you go 8x on that, and a lot of it's going to be new tokens. I mean, that's where you could easily see, Ethereum being at $15,000 to $20,000, and Solana being over $1,000, and there will be. You can see Venice being at $100 or more. You can see, ASI being at like multiples of where it is right now. And so I think that, and you'll probably see something new that gets into the top 10. And the top 10, what's the floor in the top 10 going to be back then? It's probably going to be, in maybe in $1 trillion gets you in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean,
And so that's very exciting.
once we can roll out decentralized AI that everyone uses the way they use ChatGPT and Claude now, I mean, then that can be the catalyst via which, as long foreseen, the decentralized economy just becomes the economy, right? I mean, I think having a new sector like AI taking over the economy anyway, I mean, that's a beautiful opportunity for the decentralized
Well,
mode.
I met the founders of Ganka, which is a very interesting token that is not very a huge market cap with no liquidity, but we'll see where it goes when it actually kind of starts trading. But the two brothers, Russian brothers that live in L.A. now that founded it, their thesis was that the overall revenue for AI in 10 years is going to be about 30 trillion, and that they thought 10% of that could be decentralized. I think it'd be more than 10%. And so that means if we're 20%, doesn't even have to be the majority. If we're 20%, that's $6 trillion for decentralized AI alone. And even if it's only 10%, that's 3 trillion. So I could certainly see that if you're talking about, 5 or 6 to $8 trillion for altcoins overall, that 3 to 5 trillion of that could be decentralized AI, which means that the leading tokens are going to probably be close to $1 trillion market cap.
Yeah.
I know the Tau maximalists think that it's going to be bigger than Bitcoin at some point. So, we'll see where that goes. But I think that people will understand that just like, Bitcoin is digital gold, and, Ethereum is digital oil, that the decentralized AI platforms are basically going to be decentralized knowledge and intelligence.
Yeah. I mean, which is bigger, we can't tell because they're all playing roles in the same economy. And there will be many different tokens used in many different roles within the decentralized AI economy. But the opportunity is there for AI to take over most of the world economy and decentralized AI to take over quite a lot of the AI economy. And I mean, the analogy with Linux and operating system is probably apropos. Like Linux doesn't have to be the only operating system. It runs 70% of the internet. You still have commercial OSs, but if the decentralized networks are in the lead, and the U.S. and Chinese government affiliated companies are playing catch up, right? I mean, whether it's 10, 20, or 60%, the decentralized ecosystem has it's a tremendous amount of wealth, knowledge, understanding, and goodness being delivered, right? And I think we're aligned that the next up wave of the altcoin cycle is going to be well poised to deliver this, which is quite.
And what'll be really interesting is that the way that cycles go, right? We should be popping the bubble in 2029 now. It's interesting that what happened this week, which means that the odds are 2/3 or more now that the bottom was June instead of October as originally projected, if you were staying completely on path. We've had 3 cycles in a row where the bubble popped 35 months within days after the bottom, right? So if it was October, that means the bubble would pop in September, which would be the first time that the bubble did not pop in the fourth quarter of the year after the halving. It'd be late third. If June is the bottom and it follows the same, and it doesn't have to, it was just 3 out of 3. If it follows the same math, then you would end up having the bubble pop around May of 2029, which would be interesting. That would barely be 12 months after the halving, 12, 13, 14 months after the halving. So that would be very interesting. And at the same time, if you look at the global economy, they're 10-year cycles, right? Bitcoin's 4-year cycles. They're 10-year cycles. You had crashes in 1929, 1989, 1999, plus a few months, 2019, plus a few months, 2009, and, we could have the everything bubble, pop in 2029. Well, what happens when all of a sudden, the $100,000, Dow and the $15,000 S&P and the, double its value today NASDAQ, drops by 50% at the same time that you're having a bubble in Bitcoin? It'd be really, really interesting.
That's I mean, there's going to be a lot of interesting things happening at around the same time then, right?
It'll also be the start of a new administration. It'll be interesting to see.
The start of a new administration. You have the advance of AI toward AGI and singularity.
Yep.
Then you have all these huge hyperscaler investments in circular financing in the real economy with big tech and so forth, either paying off big time or everyone's debts coming due, and probably some weird combination of both, right? So there's going to be.
So what'll be interesting in this binary is what happens if January 2029 brings in, President Vance or President AOC or Newsom, because
President Terpin, yeah.
I'm not eligible. I live in Puerto Rico, but no. I mean, if AOC or Newsom get in, they're going to ban AI.
You're good. I mean, yeah.
So, but I'd be interested in your perspective about what happens if an anti-crypto, anti-AI administration gets in at the start of 29? Does that pop the bubble in itself, or is it just too big of a global force to?
Then Xi Jinping takes over the world. I don't know. I
Pretty
mean,
much, yeah.
I mean, I think, yeah, you would in any complex system as you approach a phase transition, many crazy things will happen, right?
Yep.
So if indeed the American public is stupid enough to elect an anti-AI president at the dawn of the singularity, I mean this will be like the final epic example of the end of an empire, right? I mean
Yep.
that it either will lead to a revolution shortly after, or to the U.S. Becoming a third world country for a brief period of time before the singularity uplifts everyone. So
Are we
I
kind
mean,
of already seeing that a little bit in the UK? I mean, they put people in jail for tweeting.
yeah. So I mean, my hope is that, as stupid as the American voting public can be, they won't be quite that stupid, right? But I certainly see a risk there, because you see
Yep.
anti-AI movements popping up, and you see just the incredible tone deafness of big tech executives playing into it in
Yep.
a ridiculous way. So yeah, I do think I do think there's a political risk there, and I think the Chinese system has some advantages in terms of agility that comes from having a more centralized, like a well-designed
Yep.
decentralized system is the best, right? But a
Right.
really shitty oligarchy, which is a quasi-centralized mess, can be worse than a dictator who just has a decent IQ and kind of knows what they're doing, right? So I think there is a political risk there, and there's economic risks with all the circular financing in the mainstream economy, and crypto itself has its own risks, which is its tendency to put money into a lot of really stupid stuff, even when there's more actual highly functional crypto networks out there that don't always get as much investment. So loads of risks, which obviously comes along with
That
loads
goes
of
beyond crypto, right? I mean, the startup ecosystem
it does.
primarily
Yeah.
goes to the stupid stuff.
Loads of risks, loads of opportunities, but it seems clear there's going to be massive changes involving massive amounts of money bouncing around in unprecedented ways, and we're going to be relying on the combination of human intelligence and our AI agents to figure out how to sort of not navigate these unprecedented changes. But yeah,
I agree, and I think that if we're able to keep the communists out of power in the U.S. in 2019, sorry, 2029, that we'll potentially have a golden age for a while of just.
we've got to dodge the communists and the right wing fascists. Yeah, right. So I
I
mean,
think at this point the communists are a bigger threat than the fascists. The fascists seem to have kind
well,
of
we can agree to disagree on that for the perspective
okay.
of this podcast. But I'm not a
I mean,
fan of either.
obviously,
I
ICE
think
is a problem and some
we
other
can agree
things,
on
but
that part, right? So
yeah.
yeah, I've got to get back to my family travels here, but it's
Okay,
been
same here.
good to rap a bit about all this. Thanks for pulling me in, Vali, and yeah, we'll do this again sometime.
Well,
We'll
Ben,
catch up.
thank you. I think this is the first time we have the godfather of crypto and the godfather of AGI on one platform. Do you agree? You guys?
It's too much. It's too much godliness for me. Yeah, I gotta go listen. I gotta go listen to some
I'll
Black
ping
Sabbath
you to see
now
if
or
we can
something.
get you down to Vegas as well to join me on stage there in
Yeah,
October.
yeah, should be cool. All right, bye
All
bye.
right, great.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ben, for joining in. What a lovely guy. I sent him a text. I'm like, okay, this is something interesting happening. Please come in. And there he is. I love people like him who are spontaneous, who are up for anything. But then the way that the things are happening right now, I actually wanted to ask him and you, because we spoke about the AI bubble popping. But okay,
It
we
won't
are
pop yet. It's not going to pop yet.
okay. So let's My last couple of questions is going to be, what are we expecting this week in Bitcoin in the week to follow? Are we like?
Well,
I know
first,
you
the first
you
is first
mentioned
things we have
in.
to see where the week closes, right? So do we close at like 79K, 80K, or do we have a pullback before then and we close the week at like 72 or below 70? If we close below 70, then I'm going to move my odds of having a lower low back to about 50-50. And this was just sort of like a freak like blip that got sold off. But so far, it doesn't seem that way. So far, it seems like, if this was going to die off, it would have started doing it today, and it seems like there's more buyers than sellers right now because the first wave of this was completely this unprecedented. I mean, it was the biggest liquidation in 5 years, right? There were so many people short that got wiped out, right? They were just convinced that it was. I mean, look, I had shorts too, not a lot of them. I had a very, very small amount of shorts, and I just had them in there in case I was right. But I had them covered too. I had them like, if it goes above this, sell, and they all got sold. And so I was basically waiting until I had a firm direction in one way or the other, and we have not had a firm direction the last few weeks. It's just been sort of like squeezing between kind of the moving average going up, and along with it the amount that we were just below the 200-week moving average. And so that can't continue forever, right? And this happens when you have this kind of periods of consolidation. You have a tightening range of price, and then it has to break up to the top or the bottom. And usually when it does, it's violent. And so I thought, as recently as a few days ago, that the odds were higher that it would break to the bottom on bad news. And at this point, you usually need some catalyst. And I did not expect, um, you know, the crypto summit to actually have meat. I expected to be another one of these disappointing things where they just say, "Hey, I'm great, crypto's great, rah rah crypto, and we're going to go and bring business back to America, and you're going to be so tired of winning." There was actually meat. There was meat, as I said before. Reg Crypto, Bessent's, buying back long dated T bills, adding liquidity to the market. Really a lot of heavy pressure now on the kind of Democrats who, I mean, Elizabeth Warren's been trying to convince all the Democrats that, everybody's anti crypto among working America. And that's just not true. There's no data to support that. And so nobody really wins by, saying, I'm anti crypto, vote for me. Eric Voorhees very famously said, Elizabeth Warren's army is a Potemkin army. If you remember that kind of phrase, I mean, it was just like it's fake.
I think 2 years ago, when for the first time we had Donald Trump Jr. come into Bitcoin Abu Dhabi, I was listening to him live, and what he said on stage actually got a couple of us thinking really hard, because this was the first time that America was inviting people to come and build in America. Now, I don't think this has ever happened earlier, that they have invited people to come over and build. And with the new regulations, clearly it is an invitation for a lot of Americans to perhaps go back home and build in America. Uh, and for a lot of us who are aspiring to start up in US, it's an invitation. Do you think that what 2 years ago Donald Trump Jr. said at the stage of Bitcoin Abu Dhabi has now really come into play? Because all the things that you mentioned sounds like they want
Well,
more
it
and more
wasn't just
people.
Abu Dhabi. I mean, Trump, when he was running, was the keynote speaker. First time they had a presidential candidate as a keynote speaker at the Bitcoin conference, right? And he was like, "I'm gonna like bring crypto should. I mean, Bitcoin should be built in America. Crypto should be built in America. We're gonna bring it back to America." So that was kind of his kickoff of saying we're gonna be the pro crypto administration. I'm gonna be the Bitcoin president. And and I think that there's been a little bit of a kerfuffle between the Bitcoin maxis and the crypto market in general, where they're like saying, no, you just have to be pro Bitcoin and anti altcoin. It's like, no. What's good for altcoins is good for Bitcoin, and what's good for Bitcoin is good for America. And rather, what's good for Bitcoin and crypto built in America is good for America. And so,
Is it good for America or good for Donald Trump? Because I was reading something that Donald Trump made more money in the last 2 years in crypto than he ever made in his business in his lifetime.
yeah. So both of those statements can be true. It can be good for America, and it could be good for him personally. I have no comments on, look, Nancy Pelosi is the best stock picker in the history of the world, right? I mean, she just continues to buy things that she's got insider information on, according to most reports. And I think they should probably have rules that I thought you had to go and put your things into a blind trust when you get into politics. I remember David Sachs talking about that, but and he wasn't even a paid position, so. I that's above my pay grade trying to figure out which politicians are allowed to buy what. I just know that Donald Trump has been good for Bitcoin, certainly compared to what Biden was and what I
True,
perceived
true.
Kamala would have been.
True, that absolutely. Michael, thank you so much for your time. I think this one has truly been special. I did mention earlier that this is going to be special, and it turned out to be extremely special. Having you, the godfather of crypto, and Ben, the godfather of AGI, together. Just listening to you guys was amazing, and I hope all our viewers have enjoyed this. This live stream on this video is one for the history books. Thank you so much, Michael, once again for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you then. Bye bye.
Bye bye.